Sandy Says Read. Welcome to the channel. Tonight we are going to do a review and discussion of Creativity, a short and cheerful book, right? A short and cheerful guide by John Cleese. Yeah. All right, you guys. Let's see. I saw John do an interview with a journalist on a stage, and I cannot remember the venue where they were. Gosh, it's been probably a year ago that I saw that on YouTube, and I just loved what he was saying, what John was saying about creativity and creative ideas and where this flow comes from. And he spoke about the I don't want to say his disappointment with, or maybe his frustration with, the educational system. Where he grew up, he was encouraged to think very logically and very analytically about things instead of creatively. And after he spoke, I thought, I've got to find the book that he was talking about with that journalist. So ordered this, and I have only recently read it. I started reading it and then got distracted, as I do. So I have reread it now and want to bring a review to you all because it is a short and cheerful guide to creativity. So I wanted to share that with you guys because, doggone it, we all need something cheerful right now, right? And it is cheerful. The specs are, let's see, this was done by Crown Publishing in 2020. It's 103 pages. Sort of. This is a very quick read, you guys. I mean, despite the fact that it took me, a year to read it, it was a very quick read once I sat down and read the whole thing. I say it's sort of 103 pages because the pages are really short. I think I put a bookmark in here somewhere where I could show you one of these things, like one of the chapter headings for hints and suggestions. This is 2 of the pages. All right, so not every page is full of heavy text. Okay, then the next page you turn to, and this is the beginning of the chapter. Okay, so there's a lot of, I don't want to call it blank space. There's a lot of quickly moving layout design. There you go. So as you read through this, it's going to be a quick read. Let's put it that way. It's written very much in the style of an essay. It's an essay on creativity. So it's, when I say it's 103 pages, don't let that be a deterrent to investigating this book on your own. It's not 103 pages of someone droning on about how to be creative. Not at all. This is a quick look into, John Cleese sharing some ideas and being clever in the process. I mean, it's nicely done. Let's look at this. Let's see, I wanted to point out, his breakdown of Guy Claxton. Guy Claxton has a discussion of, I don't know if he did an essay or an article or a whole book on, the hare brain versus the tortoise brain. And John kind of gives a breakdown of that in one of the chapters here. I'm sure I've got it marked. Maybe. Here we go. Okay, I've got it marked. Starting on page 35, and I'm going to read just this little brief bit to you. Like I do in these videos, I read you a little snippet. The absolutely crucial point he goes on to make is that this leisurely tortoise mind, for all its apparent aimlessness, is just as intelligent as the much faster hare brain. Recent scientific evidence, he says, shows convincingly that the more patient, less deliberate modes of mind are particularly suited to making sense of situations that are intricate, shadowy, or ill-defined. When we are not sure what needs to be taken into account, or even which questions to pose, or when the issue is too subtle to be captured by the familiar categories of conscious thought, we need recourse to the tortoise mind. This type of intelligence is associated with what we call creativity, or even wisdom. I really liked that. I mean, John was breaking down what Guy Claxton has put into his thesis, I guess you would call it. But he's kind of showing us, okay, you've got your tortoise mind, which is more slow and deliberate in thinking things through with creativity in mind. And then the hare mind, or the hare brain, which will think things through very quickly. Fine, that's great. They're both valid. But I really like the creative mind, the idea that the creative mind can slow things down and juice them. That's the Sandy version of it. And he goes on to explain that one of his friends was doing some studying, some research, and looked at architects in particular and asked some questions of creative architects versus non-creative architects, or those who classify themselves as such. And he drew some conclusions. The first was that the creative architects knew how to play, and that the creative architects always deferred making decisions for as long as they were allowed. Now, I like the concept of the creative person, the creative architect, the creative mind allowing themselves to play. I love that concept. I'm glad it's in here. I'm glad that John included that, because I view the writing that I do as giving myself permission to play. I get to play in other worlds because I world build for my fantasy novels, right? And I love that. I love that time to play. The idea of putting off decisions for as long as I'm allowed to, that one, and that may be totally valid for other creative people, but that one, that drives my creative brain insane. If I have a decision to make and I put it off, my creative mind will be like knocking at the door, like, get this taken care of. So that one, I don't know. I don't think I would do well as a creative architect if I was putting off decisions. I think my mind might drive me nuts. Oh, let's see. Is this, there was another note. Oh yes, in toward the back of the book, he does have like some tips on your creative process, how to, I don't know, augment your creative process. He does have some hints and tips, some hints and ideas. And there's one of the ideas he kind of spells out for you is to keep going. And I love that. I'm so glad he included that in here. He says to the reader, to the person who's looking for creative ideas, keep going. And I dig that. That's wonderful. I'm so glad that was included. There are so many times when, the creative person out there, myself included, we'll have those moments where you're like, oh, for Pete's sake, it's so hard. And you have your little pity party, right? Get over the pity party and keep going. I mean, if you need to have your little pity party for a few minutes, fine, but then keep going, right? And so I'm so glad that he included that. But he also included an item, and I'm going to read you this little snippet. He suggests, getting feedback. Okay, it's seeking a second opinion is what he's titled it. But he's, asks specific questions of people. If you've got a speech that you've written, if you've got a screenplay that you've written, something that you're working on, you've drafted your illustration, get feedback on it, get a second opinion. And he's listed out some questions that you could ask of people to kind of get a feel for if you're going in the right direction, or if you need to make some corrections before you get too far along in your process, right? And then he says, the people you have asked will probably suggest their solutions too. Ignore these completely. Smile, look interested, thank them, and leave, because they have no idea what they're talking about. Unless they are writers themselves, then listen carefully. But at the end of the day, guys, listen to this. At the end of the day, you and only you must decide which criticisms and suggestions you accept. And isn't that lovely? Isn't that nice? Aren't you glad he included that in this book? I mean, he includes the all-important idea of seeking suggestions, looking for help, going into that creative community that we all need to build around ourselves and saying, hey, here's what I'm working on. Can you help me? What ideas do you have? And letting someone give you feedback. But he also suggests, you're the only one who can decide, okay, yes, this is good feedback. No, it's not good feedback. I love it. I can recommend John Cleese's Creativity, a short and cheerful guide. I thought it was wonderful. And it is short. You guys, it will not take you long at all to read it and to get something good out of it. That's all I've got for you today. Please follow along, like, subscribe, all that good stuff you're supposed to do here with these channels, because it is kind of random. And if you hit like the little notification icon, it'll let you know when the randomness happens. Thanks so much for tuning in.